Despite facing mounting criticism, the so-called big tech names are getting bigger. The entire tech industry is under a new level of scrutiny.
And a new study sheds light on the link between mental health and social media use. Here to talk about the latest research
is going on that gets no coverage at all. Tens of millions of Americans are hopelessly addicted to their electronic devices.
It's exacerbated by the fact that you can literally isolate yourself now in a bubble thanks to our technology.
Fake news is becoming more advanced and threatening societies around the world.
We're facing a digital revolution, a technological explosion, if you will. And while all technologies can be harnessed for good, there is also a way to misuse any tool. Social media nowadays opens a world of information to us, but it becomes addictive and has substantial effects on our generations. And shockingly, we all appear to be oblivious of the detrimental effects of excessive social media usage. To put things into perspective, according to the Global Digital Overview, there were 3.8 billion social media users worldwide in January 2020, and that number has grown by more than 9% since, with 321 million new users joining every year. Now, multiple studies have demonstrated that the constant stream of notifications in the form of likes, shares, and reactions cause the triggering of the same chemical reactions seen with drugs in the brain's reward area. As a matter of fact, neuroscientists refer to social media as a syringe of dopamine being injected into our system. The nature of social media is addictive due to endless scrolls with never-ending content. And as people engage more and more with content, they neglect productive activities and those aimed at taking care of themselves. Nowadays, society relies on social media to find and connect with other people. And while these revolutionary technologies have their benefits, it is important to consider that these platforms can never be a substitute for real interactions. Only in-person contact triggers hormones which make us happier and healthier. Ironically, for platforms designed to bring individuals together and spread information, engaging too much time with content on these sites brings about misinformation, feelings of isolation and loneliness, and exacerbated mental health problems. With the following investigation, we intended to extract important insights regarding the excessive use of social media from primary and secondary sources in order to compile our most meaningful findings. By doing so, we wish to raise awareness and broaden our perspective in an effort to ideate innovative solutions centered around the user. We are sure that the latter can truly push for a change. In order to truly center our investigation around the user, we underwent a series of complex processes. First and foremost, the inspiration phase, during which we inquired into the topic by reading online medical journals, social media reports, news, and essays. Afterwards, we were able to state our general objective and the specific ones. Subsequently, hypotheses were established, which were further graded as true, false, or null based on our extensive analysis. To do so, we employed 4 investigation techniques: theoretical framework, social media observations, qualitative research through semi-structured interviews, and quantitative research by creating a survey. We focused our research on a sample made up by individuals with an age ranging from 16 to 25 who reside in the Mexican Republic regardless of gender. Furthermore, we sought students and part-time employees belonging to an A, B, C+, and C socioeconomic status. General interests included enjoyment for short-form content on social media platforms, trends, and the desire to be connected and informed. After satisfactorily concluding this task, we entered the ideation phase. Insights extracted from the inspiration phase were crucial in order to ponder feasible solutions. We started by brainstorming based on identified necessities. After connecting a few concepts, each and every one of us was able to state a proposition which was evaluated by our peers in order to receive feedback. Now, regarding our investigation, we focused on 3 hypotheses. Our first hypothesis consisted of testing if at least 60% of individuals perceive that the abusive use of social media diminishes productivity. After conducting a thorough research on secondary sources, we found conclusive information on social media usage. It's pretty much undeniable. Social media is everywhere, and according to the GDO, these platforms have reached more than half of the population worldwide. However, the nature of these digital tools is that they are addictive, and the more we engage with content, we start to neglect productive activities and ourselves even. Some studies indicate that 1/3 of the time workers have is spent on social media, meaning that every day, close to 3 hours are spent accessing these platforms, resulting in a loss of productivity estimated at 13%. among other adverse effects that can be applied to academic performance as well. As we further inquired, we ironically sought information on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Our main findings were that social media is in fact the main distractor for workers and students. Additionally, platforms predict the content we wish to consume in order to keep us hooked, and because of the format of modern content, the average attention span has had severe reductions along the years. Furthermore, social media encloses us in echo chambers, hindering our capacity to observe new ideas. People are pretty much conscious about this, but still do nothing but pity themselves or take it as a joke. And our interviews showed that notwithstanding the amount of hours each individual spent on social media daily, everyone agrees that social media diminishes productivity.
Sin duda alguna, las redes sociales son de los mayores distractores en mi experiencia con respecto a actividades de mi vida académica, ya que puede ser que durante alguna clase me llegue un mensaje y me distraigo, o incluso al momento de dedicarme aquí dentro de mi casa a realizar actividades de este índole, me resulta muy difícil poder concentrarme 100% a ellas sin necesidad de acudir a las redes sociales.
Considero que mi rendimiento académico sí se ve afectado por las redes sociales, ya que durante clase tiendo a distraerme muy fácilmente con mi celular al checar estas.
Me parece que las redes sociales sí afectan el rendimiento académico, debido a que, pues, al menos en mi caso, he visto mermada mi concentración y mis lapsos de atención en general.
Las redes sociales afectan mi rendimiento académico porque disminuyen mi concentración y hacen que me tarde más en realizar las actividades.
Moving on to our survey, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being very frequent, 59% answered a 5 when asked how frequently they used social media platforms. 31% answered with a 4. And using another Likert scale from 1 to 7, we asked people to answer how addicted to social media they consider themselves. Surprisingly, 35% answered a 5, which is considered pretty addictive. 24% answered with a 4, and 19.3% answered with a 6. But when asked how much they consider that social media affects their productivity, the most common answer was a 5, or a lot. In fact, 45% of all individuals answered with a 5, 31% with a 4, and 15% with a 3, which is pretty neutral. Which means that more than 73% of respondents indicate that they feel social media affects their performance. Due to this, it is safe to conclude that our hypothesis is true.
Our second hypothesis addresses that more than 60% of young individuals consider that social media addictions affect their mental health, resulting in anxiety and/or depression. Social media has a reinforcing nature. Using it activates the brain's reward center, releasing dopamine, a feeling-good chemical linked to pleasurable activities. A 2018 British study tied social media use to decrease, disrupt, and delayed sleep, which is associated with depression, memory loss, and poor academic performance. Social media use can affect users' physical health even more directly. Researchers know the connection between the mind and the gut can turn anxiety and depression into nausea, headaches, muscle tension, and tremors. But what makes the users come back for more when it literally can make them feel sick? Well, it is because when the outcome is unpredictable, the behavior is more likely to repeat. One does not know how many likes a picture will get, who will like the picture, and when will the picture receive likes. The unknown outcome keeps the users engaged with the sites. 40% of our sample agreed that social media acts as a threat toward our mental health, leading to anxiety and/or depression. Additionally, 30% agreed and 25% remained neutral. 39% of the question people evaluated from 1 to 5, 1 being not too bad and 5 being too bad, that if they posted a picture and it didn't get any reaction, how would they react? Their experience was rated and received a 3 as a middle point. To boost self-esteem and feel a sense of belonging in their social circles, people post content with the hope of receiving positive feedback. When reviewing other social activity, people tend to make comparisons such as, did I get as many likes as someone else? Or why didn't this person like my post but this other person did? People are searching for validation on the internet. One important factor is the fear of missing out. If everyone else is using social media sites, and if someone doesn't join, there is a concern that they'll miss jokes, connections, or invitations. Missing experiences can create anxiety and depression. When people look online and see they're excluded from an activity, it can affect their thoughts and feelings and can affect them physically.
También las redes sociales afectan mi salud mental, ya que me provocan un sentimiento pequeño de ansiedad al no obtener los resultados que yo quiero dentro de ellas o no obtener cierto tipo de respuesta que yo espero. Sin embargo, no es grave, pero sí afectan mi salud mental.
Desde mi punto de vista, las redes sociales sí afectan a la salud mental, ya que hay ciertos recursos los cuales pueden afectar la perspectiva que uno tiene de su imagen, comparándose con otras cosas que se pueden llegar a ver en...
Igualmente creo que las redes sociales sí afectan la salud mental, debido a que puede causar dismorfia, puede causar ansiedad, depresión, por, por todo lo que se aspira, ¿no? La artificialidad que uno puede observar en estas plataformas.
Las redes sociales afectan mi salud mental porque caigo en comparaciones y estoy constantemente expuesta a mucha información y puede ser cansado.
With that in mind, it is verified that the hypothesis is... Our fourth hypothesis addresses that more than 80% of the people perceive that people who practice mindfulness activities which nurture their bodies and mind tend to spend less time on social media. Mindfulness has a positive effect against compulsive behavior, opposing to the stress that social media causes. Recent studies have shown that high levels of mindfulness predict high levels of self-esteem, resulting in low levels of social anxiety. According to Games, Wadix, and Calvit, having a higher level of mindfulness awareness significantly decreases the probability of reporting a preference for online social interactions using the internet for mood regulation, deficient self-regulation, and negative outcomes of problematic internet use. Mindfulness increases awareness of the present moment, which facilitates cognitive and behavioral flexibility and allows for more adaptive responses to situations as opposed to responding in habitual or impulsive ways. Social media findings are at one with our hypothesis. People that are more interested in activities or other things rather than social media prove to be less focused on what people think about them, what society thinks about them, and see social media with only one purpose: communicate with friends and family.
Distintas actividades como hacer ejercicio o practicar yoga me ayudan a separarme un poco de las redes sociales y de todo este mundo virtual y me ayudan a conectar más conmigo misma y a entender lo que realmente quiero.
Me parece que absolutamente las actividades para conectar con uno mismo pueden ayudar muchísimo a alejarse de esas plataformas, tales como la meditación o el ejercicio, que son las que personalmente practico.
Most of our interviewees affirm that they have been trying to stay away from social media. Nevertheless, it has been very difficult for them to plan a regulated schedule, which they follow completely, and manage to make other activities rather than being on their phones. But they have been simply feeling this type of anxiety of not knowing what's happening, of not knowing what people are thinking about them, of people not knowing what they're doing. But there's also the ones who have been trying to do that and have been successful with it. And they manage to have a more healthy lifestyle, and they make another practices and another activities rather than mindfulness. They read, they run, and they sometimes use guided meditations to connect with themselves. The reaction towards the following statement was measured. People who engage in activities to connect with themselves and nourish their bodies and minds tend to spend less time on social media. 47% strongly agreed, 32% agreed, 30% were neither for or against, 5% disagreed, and 3% strongly disagreed. Given the research done and the surveys answered, we can confirm the hypothesis is true and correct, since most people agree that mindfulness-related activities minimize the use of social media.
My feasible solution consists of a mobile application aimed to supervise, control, and limit social media usage. Furthermore, this project intends to stimulate and develop cognitive skills through interactive games to counteract social media's negative effects and offer an alternative to media surfing. While limiting screen time, the app will also notify the user through motivational quotes in order to encourage him to undertake nurturing activities which were scheduled by AI, taking into account the user's goals. Additionally, the app will include guided meditations and breathing exercises, as well as a personal journal to track progress and keep in touch with emotions that are sometimes overlooked due to social media. The app intends to enhance our mindfulness, which would have overall advantages on our lives and productivity. The main purpose is to raise awareness in a dynamic and intuitive way, while encouraging mindfulness activities so as to avoid social media addictions and push for a change.
The idea consists on an app which provides different entertainment services, which will be helpful for people to spend less time on social media, but still be able to be on their phones. This is due to the fact that people manage to look out for an easy way to entertain themselves without doing too much effort or investing a lot of time and or money. That's why in this app there will be free courses available for all types of interests: exercise, arts, craft, music, meditation, etc. This system will be sustained by affiliations and partnerships with brands such as Domestica, Calm, Nike, Spotify, among others. In order for people to have control of how much time they're spending on the app, a timer will be open on the top right corner. Now, there are certain restrictions on the app, such as the schedule. The app is available from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. This is to help users not to interrupt their sleep schedules. Another restriction is that users can only be a maximum of 5 hours in the app. If they exceed the time, the app will instantly close and forbid the access. Last but not least, the app will have a social section on which people can text, make group calls, take group courses, but only before making a 2-minute guided meditation.
It is safe to conclude that raising awareness regarding the true nature of social media platforms and its adverse implications by exploiting instant diffusion is crucial to normalize and systematize healthy practices that make the public gravitate towards nurturing activities. But rather than stigmatizing social media, we ought to truly understand its nature, aiming to develop a controlled relationship rather than a compulsive one. So let's start using these, not to impress people, but rather impact them.
The process that this investigation had was at first a little rough, since we had so many proposals, we didn't know where to start. Along the path, we managed to study the behavior people show towards social media. This demonstrated to us how many people have an addiction towards it, allowing us to find the best solution to this problematic.
I consider it of paramount importance to remember that every investigation we carry out must attend a rigorous process that focuses on the user to have a better understanding of the problem. I am avid on developing more research reports since I wish to revamp my hard and soft skills. I learned that in order to develop an idea, it is advisable to empathize, observe, and draw storyboards, answering the questions of what, who, how, and where. Additionally, I learned that by sharing ideas with other individuals, I am able to broaden my perspective on the topic.